right. Before we move on to Tarkov, let me take a look at this article. I've been told that Paul has solutions. Was Destiny 2's crafting better than Edge of Fate's weapon tiers? From Paul here. I posted a meme yesterday saying that I missed crafting. Now, 6 months into Destiny 2's new tier loot system, where crafting has now been completely abandoned. This is significant because I was crafting's #1 hater for years. So have I completely changed my tune? Not really. I just like memes. But I think this is worth discussing, as I think there are some real problems with the current tier system, though I'm not willing to declare it worse than crafting outright. But it's become something of a mess. The problems I had with crafting were straightforward. In a loot-based game, it turned the entire chase into randomly getting 5 red border weapons. At times, that could take a while, but eventually Bungie started offering some per week just for logging in, making it even easier. I know many people like making their exact role perfectly with little effort, but to me, this stood counter to the point of a looter shooter, of actually chasing things you want rather than spamming Ingrams to land a special red border one. And crafting made every other weapon that was a random drop totally pointless, as you just be able to make a better one later. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, tiered weapons are the exact same way. I mean, to be quite frank, every one of you, when you see a tier 1 through tier 4, that's pointless to you. How many of you just instantly delete anything between tier 1, tier 4 that isn't something that contributed to your high level? Because you know you will eventually make it to tier 5, and that's the only thing that matters to you. It's an auto dismantle, man. What crafting really did that was so nice, it was so great for your vaults. You literally kept one role, man. And you could swap between that one role inside of PvE and PvP. That's one thing I really did like about crafting. And it also was a good thing for, the players that just, get on here and there, but they make a little bit of progress. It mitigates weight gates. Now the tier system has run into somewhat similar problems and is starting to unravel. The tier 1 through 5 system has created its own level of trash, namely tiers 1 through 3, with a power floor about to be raised to 300. Tiers 1 and 2 will effectively not even exist anymore. In theory, pursuing tier 5 weapons could be cool, but the way it works now is you simply hit a grinded power level and you start getting all tier 3 to 5 drops at that level. In the current case, that level is 450, where every activity drop is tier 5. Tier 5 weapons are probably the single most power-crept thing the game has ever had. 3 perks in each column, and every single node on the gun is enhanced. Even the mods are enhanced. It's hard to imagine anything pushing past where we are now. But to quote The Incredibles, if everyone's super, no one is. Dog, yeah. Yeah, man. That's so true, dude. Think about it. How many of you have picked up a god roll right now, taken a screenshot of it, and sent it to a friend? I haven't. Whereas back in the day, when you landed that god roll, whatever it was, you were like, oh my God, I gotta share the role. You know what I'm saying? And you were substantially more powerful. When you had that rangefinder, rifle barreled, hidden hand, IS alone, and back in D1, you knew you were about to land the easiest 3 taps of your life. You broke that thing out, you brought it inside of PvP, and people would see that role and they would covet it. Let's continue though. It's pretty easy to get whatever role you want within a handful of drops at tier 5, given that one drop is the equivalent of 9 with 3 columns. It's 3 traits per column. Every drop again, the only truly rare pursuit here is shinies. While cool, all tier 5s are already shiny, and that looks better than the actual shiny effect half the time. Don't get me wrong, I like the shiny variants too, but I'm not going to keep a shiny. I'm not going to grind an extra 10 hours just to get a shiny version of a weapon when it functionally is not any better. Has a cool look. That's it. When crafting was still a thing, I always cited that my perfect loot system was what Into the Light did, which included focusing, a lot of drops, and a lowest chance at shinies with double enhanced perks. Here I can see how the tier system could have worked similarly. There are too many tiers. First of all, 3 to 4 would have been enough, but the common tier based on power level should have stopped at 4. Getting a tier 5 weapon should have been a big deal. A really rare drop that perhaps isn't necessary, as tier 4s are acceptable most of the time, but a cool thing to get. But hitting 450, you're getting 1 to 4 plus tier 5s a run. Nothing special about them at all. My inventory is full of them. My vault is about to be. I've shredded just as many tier 5s as I did tier 3s and 4s before this. That's pretty much all of us. We're all, you just can't keep them all. And there's no reason to keep it all. You get the god roll within like 2 rolls. Within 2 rolls, maybe 3, you could probably have all the rolls you need for PvE and PvP. But you can't really go back now. You can't make actual tier 5s less power crept with their absurd enhanced slate. And you can't pull back from making them common to rare without a whole lot of complaining. This is why I think Bungie has kind of backed themselves into a corner, where now we're in a bizarre situation where I'm going to log into Renegades and get all tier 4 and 5s from moment 1. The power grind was good, but now the entire loot chase barely exists now, and we're almost back to the exact problems with crafting. Into the light, farming remains a fleeting, distant memory. That is something that I don't know how Renegades is going to handle. You are, I believe we're all just, if you're max level, you're going to log in, you're just going to get tier 5s. And you can't just keep adding tiers to this, guys. You can't just say, well, give them a tier 6 and a tier 7 and a tier 8. Jesus, boys, like, hold up. We're power crept as fuck. You got enhanced everything. Where do you go from here? But hold on. People say, well, introduce a new rarity. Give us Mythic. Mythic exists inside of Destiny Rising. But let me bring this up. If they introduce Mythic, how many of you are going to shred your entire vault of tier 5s? I'm going to be honest, guys. I feel like the loot system inside of Destiny as a whole is just broken. There's no common gear, which is white, uncommon, which is green, move to rare, which is blue, and then you arrive at legendary, which is purple. The way Destiny's loot system is now, even for a new player, we saw this from our new light experience, is you skip all of those other rarities. You go straight into legendary. Essentially, tiers 1, 2, 3, and 4, even though those are objectively way better than white, green, or blue gear, has just been replaced, or has replaced those gears in the eyes of the gamers. We need a complete loot reset. I think there's a world, and I would have to really just sit down and plug away here and think about this. I think there's a world where weapon crafting could be the fix for all of this. And I think Path of Exile does such a good job with their crafting. But that's also because every weapon and item has so many variables. You have variables on top of variables, which makes for acquiring the god roll item in that game incredibly difficult. And when you do, you're like, oh shit, this is what I have. And then if you take it a step further and you corrupt it, apply a Valor Warp, you have a chance of doing something absolutely crazy. But because of that variability that exists inside of PoE, they can get away with it because there's trading. And so you have this entire economy that exists inside of Path of Exile where you could spend this time acquiring this S-tier piece of gear that you put a lot of resources and materials in, and then you could sell it. And so there's an open market for these things. Destiny there's not enough variability in the items, and trading would, even though I like to just kind of imagine what it would be like for Destiny, would fuck the system. I would rather them try to fix the tier system rather than change it all again. Well, the way the tier system is now is you can't really roll things back because you've already given everyone all the candy. You see where I'm coming from? If you were to wake up tomorrow and tier 5s only dropped with one trait in columns 3 and columns 4. Number 1, that's going to make our vault issue much more worse. Number 2, you're going to have an angry player base who's now going to say, what the fuck, Bungie? I used to have 3 traits per column, and now you're giving me 1 per column? Fuck you guys. Some of you say that they can, but it's going to anger a lot of people. By the way, this problem has like haunted me. Of all the things that wake me up in the middle of the night, the loot issue inside of Destiny has been one of those things. It's like, what the fuck we do here? What do we do here? And not that this is my problem or our problem to solve. This is Bungie's problem to solve, by the way. But this is a core value of why you play Destiny that has been tampered with. And it's like one of those things. It's like when you put up there, what is the core values inside of Destiny that you must not tamper with? Gunplay is one of them. If you were to do something to Destiny where it changed the gunplay for our guns and they all felt like shit to fire and shoot, GG's, man. GG's. You just fucked the system. That's why so many people were mad about in-air accuracy. Core value, raids and dungeons and the day 1 experience for those things. Also at the very, very top is loot. Loot is such a thing inside of Destiny that you have to be so surgical about. You cannot just go into there and just start throwing candy on a weapon. You know what I mean? Like you have to be very intentional about what it is you're going to change with the loot system, and then think long term. And I think the way the tier system has been pushed forward is, in the short term, it was nice. Think about where we were in Edge of Fate. In the short term, when the Edge of Fate first dropped, brother, we were farming. I was hitting Caldera. We were getting it, baby. We pumped the music every day because we were going to tier 5 land. Tier 5s, everybody. And then we got there. And then everybody got there. It was good for a couple weeks, maybe a month. It was a temporary gain. I'm believing at this point that it's really hurt Destiny as a whole. Out of all the issues facing Bungie and Destiny, whatever, like this tier 5 shit is a problem. Okay. Solution 1. Bungie actually does go the route of weapon crafting to save the game, and there's actually a way in which you can build your forever weapon. For instance, if you got this, say, let's take Gunburn, all right? This tier 5 version of this weapon drops for you, and you're like, wow, this is a pretty good roll. Or perhaps there's a lot of shit perks in this column, and you're like, this is not that good. I'm going to go to the Enclave and sacrifice this weapon. And when I sacrifice it, I can take one trait, only one trait from this weapon to put on my forever Gunburn. So if I want to build out my forever Gunburn, I sacrifice it, I take kinetic tremors, and I put it on my forever Gunburn. You essentially build out your one weapon. That would actually fix vault bloating and would also give everyone a reason to consider every roll that drops for them because you're building out a weapon. By extension, because of the issues with armor, you may want to consider Bungie introducing armor crafting and have a similar, again, I'd have to really sit down and see how this would play out on paper, but a similar situation there or solution there that I just brought up with Gunburn here for armor pieces. Now, here's the thing. What are people going to say? I don't care about the roll of the weapon that drops from me because I just put it on my forever weapon. Bungie, you suck. I miss back in the day when I used to care. What do we do about that? Well, you could just say, hey, if you get the 5 out of 5 God roll, you just keep that thing, right? You keep it and you move on with your life. You don't have to go build out your forever weapon. But there are going to be people, and they don't even yell about it. They don't yell. They talk very close to you. And they're like, remember back in the day when we used to care about drops? Those are the people. How do we do about that? How do we handle that? You are those people? Motherfucker, don't you fucking put words in my mouth. I said from the very beginning that I liked weapon crafting. Why? I'm a RuneScape player at heart. Give me a checklist. I'll fucking do that shit. Don't fucking put words in my mouth. There was a lot of people split on this situation, but I liked weapon crafting. Why? Because it let me keep everything. Why wouldn't I like weapon crafting? I was able to keep everything because one gun had everything I need.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.